greatly appreciative of the fact that we have this speaker here this morning because he's an individual that I always find cheerful, up, delightful, happy, full of it, but very interesting. And he's a gentleman that is very giving in his heart. He's known for his work with our teens throughout the area and for his Malawi School Project, which perhaps he'll mention a little bit about later. So please, without me saying another word and getting myself in any more hot water, please welcome up Reverend Keith Cox.
Good morning, all. Good morning. How are you today? Good. I'm still giggling because these lovely ladies over here, as we were singing I Release and I Let Go, I kind of went off in my head, as I always do, and I thought I was beatboxing inside my head, but actually I did it out loud, so they heard me go, right? So that's what it's all about, right? So it's so wonderful to be here with those of you in person today and those that are live streaming here to have an experience today of really tapping more into who we know ourselves to be as spiritual beings on this planet. And I really love coming to the Centers for Spiritual Living Westlake Village. It's really a touchstone for me in my life, and certainly in the city of Los Angeles and the surrounding areas, because I feel a kinship to this center. And certainly Dr. Maureen is my soul sister. We are definitely soul sisters and brothers from a different mother. We have such a great relationship, and I appreciate being here with you. And thank you. I just want to thank you right now for the generous donation that you gave to the Malawi School Project on behalf of Dr. Maureen's birthday. So thank you so much for that. And I will speak a little bit more about the Malawi School Project in my talk. So I'm aware that you have chosen for the theme for the year 2014 a year of spiritual practice. And I really love that concept because I love it because of its simplicity, first and foremost, but I also love it because it really is the cornerstone of our philosophy and our teaching, that if we want to awaken ourselves by means of awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence, the only way to do that is through the practice of our spirituality. And one of the things that I love so much about our teaching is that there isn't a perfect way to do it, meaning there isn't a prescription, if you will, for how to find the peace and serenity that John was talking about just a moment ago, Reverend John. But what we understand is that our motivation really is all about becoming more and more in tune with that which lies within us, which are the qualities of the divine, and then experiencing that in the outer world. And by experiencing that in the outer world, then that is a testament that we have, if you will, as to what's going on inside of us. As a long-term practicing metaphysician, I love the concept that with each and every thought, with each and every belief, with each and every action, interaction, and reaction, we have the opportunity to participate in the co-creation of a life that we desire to live. Now, for me, what I've come clear to and clean with, if you will, at this time in my life, is that what I'm really consciously aware of is that the life that I desire to live is a life where I'm aware of the good that already exists in my life, that I'm not within this internal struggle of constantly trying to make something in the outer world happen so that I can look at it and go, yeah, life is good. Life is good. But by consciously choosing to know that life is good already, then that which shows up in the realm of the physical world in my life is a reflection of my state of mind, exactly that which Reverend John was talking about. And one of the things that I like about using peace as an example for that is that we understand and know as we grow and expand in this teaching that peace is not really something that we must have or be from the perspective of seeking it. Peace already exists within us because it's already the quality of the divine, which we already are. So there's nothing that we need to do or be to be more of the divine. However, by connecting to it in a new way constantly and consistently, we get to experience more of that which it is. I'm going to talk about that more today. And that which it is, according to Troward, is peace, power, beauty, light, life, love, and joy. Yeah. Yeah, one of the other things that I really love as I'm continuing to grow in my life, and I'm going to know that that's the same for you, is one of the things that I'm looking to do so that I get to live the life that I desire, is to continue with an unwavering, deep-rooted faith that I can choose to make my life better simply by the way that I use my mind, my heart, my soul, and my being. That's both within my everyday life, but how I do that in the universe that I live in. And by holding an unwavering knowing deep within me that there is a power within me as it is within you, and that it is a universal power and it's at my disposal to use it as I choose. And then to know that there are spiritual laws that are always at work in the universe that support my desires taking form. My talk title today is this: Give a Blessing, Get a Blessing. Now, someone came up to me early this morning and said all they really wanted to do was receive it. They didn't want to give it. And I said to him, named Larry, that what I know for you is innately you're not just a receiver, that you are a giver as well as a receiver, because that's the way life works. Give a blessing, get a blessing, consciously living life in the flow. So take a moment and hear that talk title again and see how it resonates with you. Give a blessing, get a blessing, consciously living life in the flow. And ask yourself, is that the present reality for you in your life? Are you living a life right now where you are in the flow, and as a result of that, you're giving blessings and getting blessings? You may ask yourself, well, what is it that I need to be in the flow of? I'm going to get to that in a moment, but what I want us to do before I get to that is let's really break down the concept of a blessing in and of itself. Because from a metaphysical New Thought perspective, it's somewhat different than probably many of us were raised to believe. A blessing, as defined by Ernest Holmes, is constructive thought directed toward anyone or any condition. Now think about that. It is constructive thought. It's more than what we are often taught in our teaching, which is just to be conscious of our thought, right? And that's part of the awakening in this teaching as we step into it, is that we realize that there's conscious and sub or unconscious thought taking place at all times. But what he's telling us to experience this concept of a blessing is we must go beyond just being conscious. And we must take our ability to be conscious and then make it constructive, and then use constructive thought and present it towards anyone or any condition. Well, what would be constructive thought? Well, I think constructive thought would be things that are in alignment with the qualities of the divine, which are peace, power, beauty, light, life, love, and joy. So whenever anything in life comes up and we don't know how to deal with it, if we take a step back and ask ourselves, am I willing to feel and know and direct peace towards this individual, or beauty, or light, or life, or love, or joy? And at the NoHo Arts Center for New Thought, now known as the Global Truth Center, Reverend James, in his mind, he's the doctor already, but Reverend James added wisdom. So the other piece to that is, do we add wisdom to that? Are we really willing to stop in our life and express those qualities no matter what's going on? And the goal in doing that is so that we can live a life in the flow of good. Now, many of you, much like myself, may have been raised in a belief that was contradictory, if you will, to metaphysics. And you may have a different philosophy around the concept of a blessing. And so the traditional definition of a blessing is God's favor or protection. Now think about that for a second, God's favor and protection. Now that concept in and of itself is contradictory to the metaphysical aspect of blessing, because it's saying it's coming to us, not that we're issuing it. Now a synonym for blessing is a lucky thing, which is something unexpected. But for us to have lucky things in our life, then we must believe in luck. I want to share a writing with you that I did last year, actually, for the newsletter for a center that I was the spiritual leader of, and it was this. Earlier this month, there was a celebration of St. Patrick's Day. It was a time when there were green clovers, funny little hats, corned beef and cabbage, and possibly some Irish whiskey. Now, I said possibly. It was actually probably. Okay, so What I kept hearing over and over were comments about the luck of the Irish. Every time I heard this, I thought most people were saying it without really paying attention to what they were stating. However, it stimulated within me an awareness of my beliefs around luck. I feel very fortunate to have come to a very solid conclusion regarding luck. It doesn't exist, specifically in the traditional sense of the word. Luck is defined as an event determined by chance or good fortune. This definition takes me back to the possible belief in a God in the sky, who may or may not dispense good to us as mortal beings. In metaphysics, we choose to know that all outer form is a direct reflection of a state of mind and the action of a spiritual law producing form. Years ago, I had the great opportunity to study with a man by the name of Fred Wilson, who I have spoken about from this podium before, and I believe he's the equivalent of a modern-day Ernest Holmes. And he developed a program called Self-Government. I believe this is pertinent to this topic because Fred's premise is simply that opportunity is everywhere. The opportunity, which we could insert good or life or God or any of those synonyms for the divine, is everywhere. We don't have to believe in luck at all, for we as beings with the inherent ability to develop an awareness and fine-tune our state of mind become aware of this opportunity, this divinity, this good, this life, this love, this peace, this power, this beauty, this joy, and this wisdom. It exists. And it exists when we raise our vibrational frequency to its existence. In metaphysical terms, God is the synonym for opportunity. So the question then is, how do we raise our vibrational frequency? Well, I think the most effective way to do this is through gratitude. For what are we grateful? What do we appreciate? Well, the blessings in our life, that's what we appreciate. The blessings that already exist in our life. The blessings or the good or the peace or the power or the beauty or the joy or the wisdom of all those, that's what we get to appreciate. Now, no matter where we are on the trajectory of our life, financially, emotionally, in our careers or relationships, or with our health, there is good. And a blessing is just another word for good. And as previously stated, good is a synonym for God. So when we acknowledge our blessings, we're acknowledging the divine in our lives. So what we're learning now by this concept and what was written in that moment is that the blessings in and of themselves exist if we choose to acknowledge them and to express them. They're not handed down from some pie-in-the-sky energy. They exist because of the state of mind or consciousness that we choose to have, to embody, to live from. And the key is that we get to understand by means of this writing that we're already emitting a vibrational attitude in our life, which is drawing forth into our field of experiences. So I ask you today, are you aware of your vibrational frequency? Are you aware of your vibrational attitude or frequency that you're emitting into the universe right now? Take a moment and just close your eyes and check in with yourself and feel your vibrations. How does that feel? How does it feel? And if it doesn't feel good, are you willing to shift it? You can open your eyes now. Now, I know personally there are times in my life when I don't like my vibrational frequency. Sometimes I like it. I liked it a lot a moment ago, beatboxing. It was great. I did. But there are also times that I don't like it. A couple of weeks ago, I got into a heated, it wasn't really an argument. I was just a beehole, actually, with someone on the phone. And no sooner did it start coming out of my mouth that I realized I didn't like the person I was being in that moment. Now, it took me a day to pick up the phone and call back and apologize for that. But what I realized in that period between when I did it and I picked up the phone, that my vibrational frequency of life was really unsettled. And it was really unsettled and from my perspective was completely out of alignment with the qualities of the divine because I didn't have peace. I didn't feel powerful. I really didn't feel like I was beautiful in that moment. I know I wasn't expressing my wisdom. And for both people in that conversation, there wasn't a lot of joy that had taken place. right? And clearly I wasn't seeing the light when I expressed myself. Here's what Abraham Hicks addresses about this. He says, the universe is not punishing you or blessing you. The universe is responding to the vibrational attitude that you are emitting. The universe is just simply responding to the vibrational attitude that you're emitting. So the question is if we don't like what's going on in our world, we get to shift that vibrational attitude and then know that without a doubt, the universe will respond. Well, why? Because that's its nature. It doesn't really have an option. It's not the way it's set up. It doesn't. It can say, no, you're going to have to suffer for a few more days without your PPLLBJ, right? It won't do that. What it will do, though, is immediately start responding because that's its nature. So the key, once again, is that we hold the key to whether or not our life is a blessed life and that we're living a life that we are consciously in the flow in and of itself of the good that exists. Well, here's what Ernest Holmes tells us how to do this. He says that you bless a man, and of course he means a man, woman, and anything and everything in between there. You bless a man, it's true, 2014, boys and girls, all right? He says you bless a man when you recognize the divinity in the man, right? And you bless a man's business when you think correctly about that business. He's talking about the state of affairs that we live in. What he's telling us here is that it's really all about action. It's all about action, and it's about our understanding that our responsibility in life, if we want to live a life better than the one that we're having in this very present moment, is that we must align ourselves with the nature of the universe, and that is to give so that we may receive. It is to give so that we may receive. I ask you today, is it your goal to live life more in the flow of life? Joseph Campbell writes this about this concept. He says, the goal of life is to make your heartbeat match the beat of the universe, to match your nature with nature. For you and I to match our heartbeat with that of the universe, with that of the nature, we must release the struggle. We must release the struggle that we have to make life look different. And we must surrender to the reality that the nature of the universe in and of itself is balance and harmony. And it's always that way. And there's nothing that we can do to make that different. And John just referenced a moment ago the earthquake. Were they unsettling for you when they happened? Guess what? There's more to come. Take that in. There's more to come. But all that is truly taking place when the earth quakes is it's righting itself from pressure. It's righting itself from being out of balance. What it's doing is lining itself up with its nature. And that's the same for you and I when there is something in our life where there's too much pressure, or where we're not settled, or where we're not in alignment with our good. So the question is, if we choose or desire to live a life more in the flow, where do we begin? Where do we begin? Especially if we may have situations or scenarios or conditions in our life that seem insurmountable or overwhelming. Whether that may be financial or emotional or spiritual or our health or our relationships in life. Where do we start? Well, here's where we start, in the beginning. Anthony Robbins says, the only impossible journey in front of us is the one that we never begin. So where we begin is right where we are. It's right where we are. And sometimes that requires dropping to our knees and issuing forgiveness. Not to the person, if you will, on the other end of the phone, but to ourselves. One of the most healing moments I've ever had in my life was doing some work with Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. And he told a story about he was just so unsettled with what was going on in his life. And when he got home, he went up to the upstairs bedroom, looked out at the moon, and dropped to his knees and went through a process of forgiving himself for the transgressions that he had placed upon himself. And that night, after learning that, I went upstairs to the hotel room I was in, and I did that. And I did it for several hours. And what I realized in that moment of the next couple of hours is that I hold the key to my state of mind. I don't need forgiveness from some outside person, individual, being, or condition. It all lies within me. And that when I choose to create a new mindset, when I make a decision to have a new mindset, then life follows suit. One of the things that Fred used to teach us is to start every day by saying, today is the day, and you fill in the blank. Today is the day that I choose to be more peaceful. Today is the day that I choose to live more lovingly. Today is the day that I love myself more. But it all requires a decision. Ralph Waldo Emerson says to us that once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. So I invite you and I encourage you in this very moment to decide, to make the decision to feel and know that your life is a blessing. That your life is a blessing. Now that may or may not feel good to you. It may or may not feel good to you, but it doesn't change the reality that that's the case. So you may be this little child where you know that your life is a blessing and you're happy and you're loving life. But you also may be this child where you're not really sure that your life is a blessing. The truth is that life is a blessing or a curse according to the mindset that we make of it. The truth is that life is a blessing or a curse according to the use that we make of it, life itself, and all of the pieces that go with it. In the long run, no one judges us but ourselves, and no one condemns us but ourselves. For we believe in a law that governs all things and all people. I want to tell you a little story. In a small Texas town, the owner of Drummond's Bar began construction on a new building to increase his business. The local Baptist church started a campaign to block the bar from opening with petitions and prayers. Work progressed right up till the week before opening when lightning struck the bar and it burned to the ground. The church folks were rather smug in their outlook after that, until the bar owner sued the church on the grounds that the church was ultimately responsible for the demise of the building, either through direct or indirect actions or means. Well, the church, of course, vehemently denied all responsibility or any connection to the building's demise in its reply to the court. As the case made its way into court, the judge looked over the paperwork. After the hearing was complete, he commented, "I don't know how I'm going to decide this, but it appears from the paperwork we have a bar owner who truly believes in the power of prayer and an entire church congregation that doesn't." So I ask you today, who are you more alike, the congregation or the bar owner? Where are you in your life? Are you truly at a place in your life, either as a congregation or individually, where you truly do believe in the power of prayer? The power of affirmative prayer, not a prayer of supplication, but affirmative prayer, prayer where you state and declare that you know that there truly is only one power and you are one with and as that power. And that no matter what you decide to hold in consciousness, that as you hold that there are laws that will bring that forward. As you see here by Ernest Holmes' writing, there is a law, that we believe in a law that governs all things and all people. Well, what are these laws? They're the laws of reciprocity, the law of attraction, the law of giving and receiving, and the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect. Can you guys all see it? Can you see it? Come forward, Babs. Check it out. Okay. The law of cause and effect. It's always happening. It's always happening. And I ask you that if you are this individual here and you're just about to jump there onto the board and the boulder's about to fly in the air and you're thinking it's going to go over, you're going to be really proud of the work you do, and yet it hits you smack on the head. Are you willing to find the blessing in that experience? Are you really, really willing to choose to believe and be grateful for the law of gravity in that moment, even though you may have a headache? Right? Are you really willing to stop and give blessing to the universe for it doing its part, and the cause and effect is always working. The key is that you hold the key to living a blessed life. Well, where do you focus? The key is to focus on your heart. Well, why the heart? Because the heart's the symbol for love. And as we know in our teaching, love is the self-givingness of spirit. And so no matter where we know or how we want to turn in all times, the best place to start is with the heart. And by looking at the heart, then we get to choose to give love, first and foremost to ourselves, and then out to the universe. Michael Nolan writes that there are many things in life that will catch your eye, but only a few will catch your heart. Pursue these. I invite you today to take a moment and ask yourself, what brings your heart alive? What truly makes you want to live life more fully with a vibrational frequency that really excites you every day? That's your passion in giving back to the world. For me, this passion, as we've talked about earlier, truly is the Malawi School Project. These are the faces of some kids in one of the schools that we built. And you can see from the faces on these children that they are emitting joy, and they're emitting happiness, and they're emitting an understanding in their life that's quite simple, that they get to choose to be happy no matter what the conditions are. Malawi is known as the warm heart of Africa, and I'm so excited to head back there June 16th, actually. Kenny Borchard, who's here, is going back for the second time to work on our 20th school. We started back in 2007 building this school project, and it was really insurmountable in so many ways. And we got there, and we had no idea what we were doing. And we got there, and we just kind of rolled with the punches and just really focused on making sure that we were committed to making a difference in that experience. And we went there with a high attitude that we were there to give so that they may receive. Not really understanding that we were there in the flow of giving and receiving, as were they. It was the oneness of life coming alive in that experience. And so the picture that you get to look at right now is the third school that we built in April 2007. And I stood there, and you'll see the signs that says, "You make a difference." And that was from a workshop that our teens made all across America that we got to take and give to this school. And they hung it inside their classroom. And while we were there on the grounds there, I said to them, many of those students, if you will continue to show up, and the teachers, if you continue to do your work, if you stay committing to bettering your lives through education, I will make a commitment to you that we'll come back here one day and we'll build a second school block for you. It was this big, massive field, and at the time that school had one little building that was crumbling and the new one that they had built with us. And at the time that structure, those two structures were housing about 380 kids. Right? And so the next year we went back there, and it was up to like 600. Then the next year we went back, and it was like 750. And when I was back there last year, it was up to almost 1,100 kids. And there were kids everywhere. And every time I went there, they said, Reverend Keith, Reverend Keith, Reverend Keith, do we get the next school block? And I said to them, if you do your work, I promise you that we will make school number 20 the second school block for you. And this village is so excited. They're firing and creating their bricks in a kiln right now out in the fields so that when we get there in June, we break ground on that. Now, I share that story with you so that you understand that oftentimes in life, there may be that in front of us that we don't understand how to step into, that we really don't know where the blessing is. And I can tell you there were many, 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 many steps along the way between school number 1 and school number 20 where I stopped and asked myself, how is this going to happen? And every time that I got into that place of struggle and fear and denial, at some point in that trajectory, I turned it over to the power within me, the power of God that exists. And no sooner did I do that, the answer showed up. And just 2 weeks ago, I've been struggling about the last $10,000 for this school. And out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, I got a phone call, and I saw the number come up, and I thought, I don't know who this is. I'm not going to take the call. And on the message was someone who says, I have that check for the final $10,000. I share that with you because I want you to know that what we need to know is that all the time we got the power. We got it. It's within us. It's within us. And our responsibility to experience more and 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 more of the good in the universe is to stop, get quiet, and then get clear that should we desire to have a life more blessed, it starts with us giving the blessing first. It's great to be here with you today. Thank you so much. May you have a wonderful Sunday. Thank you. Standing or sitting, whatever you are. So please join me in knowing that there truly is only one power in the universe. It matters not whether we have a crown on our head or no shoes on our feet. The power is still the same. And so in this very moment, I know for each and every individual here at the Center for Spiritual Living in Westlake Village and all that is sharing in this journey with us by means of live stream, we covenant and commit in this very moment to know that today is the day whereby we choose to go forward with a more lightness of heart, with greater ease on our soul and our being, and with a commitment to ourselves to understand that we are one with the universe, and its nature is to give so that it may receive. So we know that that is our nature, and so we consciously choose to give right now to ourselves a greater awareness and acceptance that we are the qualities of the divine, which are peace, power, beauty, light, life, love, and joy and wisdom. And so we already give ourselves permission that should we enter into a space where we don't know that whether in reality or metaphorically, we drop to our knees and forgive ourselves for that mistake of using our mind. And then immediately give ourselves the opportunity to think anew. And in so doing, we connect to that deep-rooted sense of faith that we each have collectively and individually. That God truly is the source and substance of our good. So we get out of our own way and allow it to do its part through us. For that's the way it works, baby. That's it. And so from this moment forward, we consciously align ourselves to be in the flow of good and move forward in life, choosing to be happy, choosing to be prosperous, choosing to be healthy, choosing to be loving, choosing to be grateful for the opportunity to live life fully. And we celebrate the laws of the universe working through us. We move forward. We truly move forward, accepting that no matter what, all is well. For indeed, the truth is, all is well. And so we let it be exactly what it is, which is well, by saying together, and so it is. So it is. Thank you. Namaste.